today's installation, I'm going to be installing a carpet up to this WPC floor. I'm going to be using the WPC TramlineZ bar, but I need to build the height up to accommodate the height of this floor itself. So what we're doing is actually incorporating an Easyshim. So first things first is I'll just use the drop checker to check what the height is. That's coming in at 22-23mm. The bar itself is set at an 8mm height, so that allows me to use a 15mm shim. The shims are available in four sizes: 6, 9, 12 and 15mm, and comes in packs of 10. We can also make the corner shims out of an actual shim itself. One shim will produce two corners. Just by cutting it down into these triangles allows me to have a gradient that way and a gradient that way. For more information on how to do these, look at the link in the description below. I'm now going to cut this shim into position. Not going to use any special tools for it. I'll just bring the shim up to this skirting board. As it's 15mm shim, it's a little bit more difficult to cut than the thinner ones. So the first thing I'll do is just draw a line running in line with that one down on the shim. And I mark this shim up. The depth up to my floor, allowing for the expansion gap required. And mark that on the shim itself. Put another mark on there because it's slightly on an angle. And then I'll just draw a line between those. So that section there is waste. It's not going to be intricate around the architrave, but it's going to be good enough or commercially acceptable on a site as long as the gully on the gripper is the same. I can now do the same this side. Again, just bring it up to the edge, put a mark on it. I'm using the shim itself. I'll just draw a straight line on that one. And again, that's all waste material, that side. So I've marked that one up. I'll now mark the corner shim up. Just using one of the shims. Just going to get it flush against that edge. Draw a line on the floor down that side. And again, make sure you allow for the expansion for the floor. I'm just going to put a mark just there. That's how far the actual shim is going to drop back. Now tape these shims together, make it a little bit easier. Now I'm just going to bring it up against my pencil line and using a back marker. Back marker could be anything with two parallel edges. I'm going to put a mark where the shape of the architrave changes. All of these are just reference lines. Like so. Can now extend those lines. And then get the shim back in position. What I'm going to do, the back marker will go up against that point there, which is the depth of the shim. Just put a mark on the other side of the back marker, that side. Bring it up against my pencil line and then bring this corner down to meet that mark. Now I can use the same back marker, scribing against the walls. Just down to each point. That one's on a slight angle. So just 2 points again. there's the top of that curve just there. Get the depth of it by putting that on its side. That little corner just there, and that last corner just there. So I join those up. And then just draw the architrave onto the actual shim itself. So that point there, that's all waste. I can now go off and cut these. First one into position, making sure there's enough expansion on the side shim. Now comes to fixing down. Now with these shims, as it's a 15mm, it's best to actually mechanically fix this with screws. But you want to roll fixings underneath where your bar's going to sit. When you stretch the carpet on, that's the point that's going to take most force on this. And if I fix back here somewhere, that could actually start to lift around. So make sure you've got fixings across the front edge. Once I've got the front edge fixed, I can now just use some ring shank nails on the side bits. These have got slightly thinner and there's not a lot of tension going on that area itself. So same principles apply. Make sure you've got fixings where your gripper's going to sit. Along this front edge, I just need some fixings in just to keep it flat to the floor. If the floor is slightly uneven, you might want to put some fixings across the middle as well. So as we can see this side, we have got a gap around there, but as I said before, this will be commercially acceptable as long as you get the correct fixings in the gripper and you get the correct gully with the gripper as well. This one's slightly more intricate, a bit more attention to detail. Same rules apply. As long as you've got the gully with the gripper, it'll be absolutely fine on the British standards. Make sure everything's done from this point to industry standards. Now I've got our shims installed. It comes to cutting the bar ready. So I've just used an adjustable straight edge, measure the length. So I can just mark this bar up. I'm going to put a bit of masking tape on to make it a little bit easier to see the mark and to also help in keeping the saw blade from slipping. So I'll mark the bar up just there. I'll use a miter block on this, give myself a nice straight cut. As it's aluminium, it is a good high grade aluminium, but it does cut quite nicely. That bar's now that size. Is what I will do first. I'll just take a little nick out of each corner, just in case those door checks are angled back slightly. Make sure the bar fits. Next stage, I want to actually get the inlay cut down for the inserts. So I'm just using a bit of flooring that's been fitted into the hallway. Take some masking tape, put it on the surface. This can be any offcut piece really, but it's nicer if it blends in or is an exact match to that flooring itself. So with the offcut, you can measure that, and that's 28mm. This is 28. Mark the other end. Once both ends are marked up, just take a straight edge, get up to your pencil or knife marks and literally score the surface. We're only using the wear layer, which is about 1mm thick. That's all I need to cut through. Once I've scored the surface, this is slightly bigger than needed. When we start this off, we do get a little bit of damage sometimes. And then we can peel that surface off. Get started there. So that's the surface peeled off. You can see there it's slightly warped. So I'll actually back roll this just to relieve some stress in the material, and I'll set this to one side. Bit of masking tape just to hold it in position. And I'll set that aside until the end. It's at this stage that we need to remember that this floor needs to expand and contract, which is why the Z-bar is on the market. So if I just put it there up against the edge, that's tight up against that floor, so it can't actually move at the moment. I need to move the bar back the required amount. So it depends on what you're actually fitting. Put a couple of marks for the expansion. I can bring that bar back to those points. So the Stairrods Z-bar, TramlineZ Z-bar, actually gets installed using the Easy Wedge system. Whenever you're fitting on a stretch fit installation, you must be raising the base of your door bar. Easy Wedge is 3mm thick, plus your base plate, which is 1mm thick or 0.7mm, is raised up about 4mm. So the wedge just slides underneath, and what that ensures is optimal penetration with your anchoring pins into the backing of your carpet. When you're installing the shims onto a solid substrate, make sure you do use the appropriate primer and adhesive. Always check with manufacturer prior to installing. So I'll get both ends secured first. Make sure you get your wedge underneath your nail hole. Make sure it keeps in position. And then just work along each nail hole, making sure you get adequate fixings. Now we've got the area prepared, we've got a continuous gully all the way around the gripper. You can see the shim underneath, but again it doesn't have a detrimental effect to the actual installation of the carpet if it is slightly short. Just got a bit of tape on the underlay to hold the underlay in place, allowing me to stretch into the bar itself. Now stretch into the bar itself. I've already formed a crease. I'm just stretching it and ensuring it's on the anchoring pins. Doorway should be the last thing you're stretching into. Although it is a high grade aluminium, it's not actually as strong as gripper rod itself. So the walls are actually what's holding the carpet under the correct tension. Once we've got it hooked onto the anchoring pins, I can now cut the carpet ready to tuck under the bar. If I'd have cut the carpet beforehand, I've only got about 10 to 12mm space underneath the bar. Now I may need more stretch than that with the carpet. And also to make the bar work properly, I can now feed that underneath. As you can see there, the carpet's actually folding backwards. So it's pushing the bottom layer further onto the pins. These bars are designed to be dressed down. All depends on the installation itself. If you are dressing them down, just give it a little bit of care and attention, making sure you don't actually distort the bar. I've just left a little bit of waste on this side, because what I'll do, I'll actually tuck that underneath and then fold it into the bar itself. Sometimes when you fit a door bar, your edges can slightly dip down on that point. Giving it a fold allows it to give it a nice smooth transition throughout. It's always best to keep your protective film on top of the bar until the very last thing. It does two things. Firstly, it prevents against unnecessary damage. Secondly, counteracts any potential contamination of the high-grade double-sided tape underneath. The next stage is the actual inlay itself. I'll just take the masking tape off. Is what I'm going to do first is I'll bring it up to the bar, just have a look to see which way works the best. So that way it's giving me a nice bit of grain just in the centre, but it's customer's preference where they want that to actually sit. Where I've peeled it off, I've got a slightly damaged edge there. I'll just mark that up where the damage has stopped. I can use the scissors to take that section off. Once you've got your inlay cut, take the topping off the tape itself. And then place the inlay into the track. Make sure you don't stretch the inlay. It's only a vinyl based product. If we stretch it, it will shrink back on itself. Just feed it into the end. Give that a smooth down. As you can see, now the inlay's installed, it's giving it a nice tramline visual through the actual door bar itself, blending it in perfectly to the existing flooring, giving it an aesthetically pleasing overall look.